that for me? Thank you very much. You're going to come have a seat.
Yes, I got the little one.
Excellent. So we're going to be doing a little bit of sharing of the mic. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Hello, hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi. So, Adrian, I'm going to ask the question that everybody is probably wondering to just get everything started. How did you get into show business?
I just have to say before I get into all that, I'm very honored to be here, very humbled. The speakers, I only saw a few, but wow, like I don't really feel like it's my place to be here necessarily because I'm an outsider and there's just so much heart that it has been on this stage. So I hope I can at least intimate a little bit of that, but ultimately, I just wanted to thank everybody and thank the speakers before me because what you guys have going here is very special. It's not often that you get a group of people together to not just use words, but use emotion and share empathy. And I think those two things are very, very important. So thank you for having me. So about acting?
Yeah. Let's get into that first.
Acting. Well, I guess at the end of the day, I do have some experience with, finding, like connecting with my emotion and being an actor is all about showing your vulnerability ultimately. But I've always had a very contentious relationship with acting as a career. I've resisted my whole life. I never really wanted to act. In fact, it's not entirely true, but I went to LaGuardia High School. Does anybody know LaGuardia? New York. Fame School, the Fame School? Fame! I want to live forever. Right. So that's not just a movie, it's not just a song, it's an actual high school, the High School for Performing Arts and Music and Art. And it's one of the four specialized high schools in New York, and you have to audition to get in. So, the city of New York, 10 million people, and all the kids desperate to go to a public school that's actually good because they're pretty shitty actually in New York. And so everybody's trying to get in, and there's a lot of competition. So anyway, I was lucky enough to go to LaGuardia High School, and it was really just a lily pad. It was just like a safe haven, a safe place for me to go to school. But I never really wanted to act necessarily. But I always, and also because it was a New York City public school, they didn't give you any other viable skills. So to answer your question, the reason why I got into acting was because that's all I really could do. Truth be told. And also, not growing up with my dad, I didn't really do, and also in New York, the sports, like the after-school sports programs weren't very good. In fact, at LaGuardia, we had bowling instead of other sports. So acting was really all I had.
Okay. All right. So it would be safe to say then that you got into it, thank you very much, you got into it because you had no other choice.
Well, at the time, yeah.
Okay. So are we good? We've covered the acting. Everyone satisfied on that?
Yeah.
Cool, great. Okay, so let's get into some of the other stuff then, because we know that, or a few of us may know anyway, that you've been getting into some pretty, what's the word here? Meaningful work, some conservational acts. Let's hear some of that.
Yeah, well, so I've always felt a sense of injustice environmentally, even in the city. Even though I consider myself a city kid, I grew up in a concrete jungle, I had anything that had trees for me was upstate New York. You know, it was, if it was Pennsylvania or Connecticut or Jersey and had trees, that was upstate New York. So it's totally disconnected from the natural world. I grew up, you know, with concrete below my feet and tall buildings, barely see the sky. And now in retrospect, that's an insane proposition to raise a kid in that environment, especially coming from Halifax. You guys, I'm sure, have totally offended at the soul to hear about that, because I can't tell you how many people have told me to go to this lake or that beach or this hike.
Have you gone?
I did go to Point Pleasant. I did go to Point Pleasant. Loved it. It was beginners. That was beginners. But and I've had, now that I'm older, a lot of opportunity to really start to connect with the natural world. But growing up, I didn't even realize that we were an ocean city. Like, we actually are on the water. Sure, there's the East River but that's where you catch the ferry to go to Staten Island. It's not water. It's just a means to go to another borough. But growing up in the city, I really had a very disconnected sense of the natural world. And it wasn't until I got older that I started to realize that there was so many injustices when it comes to the environment that I really wanted to start making a difference. And the whole spirit really for me started from my mother, who taught me a very valuable lesson: to clean my room. She's like, clean your room, Adrian. You gotta go clean your room. You gotta clean up after yourself. You gotta create a nice, safe, clean environment in which to work and to think, so that it's not cluttered and chaotic, and you can have and take care of your own space. But I'm 6, right? I'm 7, I'm 8. And now, as I'm older, I start to appreciate that lesson carries on to now my apartment. Now, when I've got my first apartment with my boys, we wanted to, it was actually a shit sty. But I had that impulse. I wanted to keep it clean, and that's when you have those conflicts with your roommates, right? Like, who's cleaning, who's not cleaning, all those lessons, all those values. And then as you get older, and then as you wise up spiritually, you start to realize it's not just about your roommates in your home. It's about your neighborhood. It's about your neighbors and how you can take care of them, and the city, and beyond that, your state, your country, the world. And so as I got older, I started to see outside of my own little myopic surroundings, and started to extend my love outside and do that kind of work, environmental work.
Beautiful.
That's great. Thank you. So then you've actually started the organization Lonely Whale. And what inspired you then? I assume that a lot of what you just said was what inspired you to start it. But how long did you start it, and who do you work with as far as that goes, and what are your initiatives with that?
So I'm a little bit older. I've actually been doing environmental work for the past 15 or 20 years, to varying degrees of success. When I was in my 20s, I grew up in Williamsburg. I pioneered Williamsburg, by the way. You guys heard of Williamsburg, right? I was one of the OG hipsters, because it was the only place I could afford, and now I can't afford it. Actually, it's too expensive. I'm priced out of the market. But growing up in Williamsburg, I was, I had a sense of how I thought the world should be, as you are when you're in your 20s, a little bit self-righteous and a little bit arrogant and a little bit edgy, violent perhaps. And I used to get in fights with the girl at the checkout counter at the supermarket because she double-bagged my bread, which was already in a bag, and I'm just hearing all the bags and all the lines and all the bags, and it just, to me, it made no sense. It was just such an offense to my entire being. So I used to yell at her, right? Like she's just trying to do her job. Like, I mean, she's like in high school trying to just, have a job. And probably worse, that was probably her ultimate career. And I'm getting mad at her, not actually making change, being totally ineffective. And so I didn't know at the time. I thought it was like all ego. For me, it felt good to lash out and make myself heard in that moment. And then I went to the opposite extreme because the burden and the tragedy of the environmental problems that I saw were so great that they, as a sensitive person, debilitated me, and it was just too overwhelming. I couldn't process it. So I went to the opposite extreme of total apathy. I just shut down. Who cares? The world's, it's like total, like obtuse cynicism where I was just like, fuck it all. We're all gonna die anyway, right? Just total nihilism. Well, we are gonna die. It's true, but we might be able to actually be more effective if we don't live with that death mentality, but we live with a life mentality. So then you get older, and I got older, and luckily I survived that period of my life. And I came to a place where it was much more in balance, where I thought, how do I find that middle ground where we can actually make change and bring people closer instead of yelling at them and alienating them, but really start to create that community. And I started an organization called Shift. It was a website. It was like early days of the internet. Shift.com was a lifestyle brand, a hub, a marketplace for sustainability in culture, in lifestyle, in business, in products, and consumerism, and technology, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it was basically just a place where we started to aggregate all the coolest things in sustainability and put them on the web, right, as one does. And it kind of took off because there was no resource for that kind of stuff at the time. And this is like 8, almost 9, maybe 10 years ago at this point. And for us, for me and for us, it was liberating because we didn't have to fix the world. We didn't have to have some grandiose, absolute solution. We could just make little small changes. Oh, and what a relief. And we didn't have to do it alone, as like righteous, authoritarians. We could do it together. And it was fun. And that sort of, for me, was a crack in sort of the mentality where now we can start living our lives with our values, with others. And it was... Anyway, I was going to get to your point about Lonely Whale. So that was where I started. I started with sort of arrogance and extreme aggression to apathy, then to a nice balance, a nice medium. And then since then, I've started several different organizations with the same principle, which is about community building, about really subtly nudging sustainable ideas into pop culture, and with an emphasis on bringing people together in a non-judgmental way. So Lonely Whale now is an organization for the oceans where we're inviting people in to help the world's oceans, which has been a challenge for me because the oceans are this very foreign, alien, abstract thing that, and maybe not here. Again, you guys are like very nature-y, I get it. But for the city kids in us, and also for the people who live in the middle of the country, or I'm from the United States, but your country too. How do we get people to connect to this thing, even if you live on the actual water, to go under the water, to go in the water, to understand that whole world, that ecosystem? Is very challenging. So that was why I started. It really was to bring people together and connect them to the world's oceans. And then once you start doing that, it opens up a host of different issues that people just want to solve and want to participate in.
That was awesome. All right, thank you. And you did successfully get rid of straws in Starbucks? Is that right? Stop sucking?
Can I have a sip of this?
You can have a sip of that.
Thank you. I did say, let me talk last because I was working and I didn't know if I was going to make it. But then I got here a little bit early and now I've had a couple of drinks. And and the bartender said I should have rum straight. For some reason, I should just sip rum straight, which is fantastic. So we're very proud to, again, so I don't know, have you guys heard of the Stop Sucking movement? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're very proud to have started the straw movement, which has now gone global. It's around the world, and we're on target to eliminate 8 billion plastic straws from the waste stream in the next 2 years, which is. And speaking of the bartender, I did see some plastic straws here. We're gonna have to get you on the program, y'all. I know a guy, don't worry. But no, I'm actually very proud of that because, again, it's about these very small, incremental, accessible opportunities for people to participate. Instead of telling people, hey, you have to eliminate plastic from your life entirely, when we've been conditioned and all of industries and everything that we know is centered around convenience, disposability, and plastic. Now you have to entirely change your life and lifestyle. No, we're saying make one single change, one small step towards the larger issue, which is, by the way, 10 million tons of plastic that makes its way into the ocean every single year. So when you're thinking about this issue of 10 million tons, how do you tackle that, right? You could do it all at once and then, again, be overwhelmed and think that somehow everybody's going to just make a grandiose change, or you say, no, let's make very deliberate small changes and bring more people in. And I always say, like, I have this part of, what I like to talk about is sort of this the arrogance of the environmentalists. How many environmentalists out there? Show of hands. Really? Not that many?
Well,
Four environmentalists?
Is it Greenpeace or is it like people who care about?
Well, do you consider yourself an environmentalist?
Care about the environment?
Okay. Fine. Okay, we'll go with that.
We're humble. We're humble people. We like to make claims.
Okay, fine. You love the environment. You want to protect it. You don't want it to be destroyed, right? Okay, good. That's everybody now. Okay. I didn't know we had to have a lesson in language and meaning, but okay. So I always I think the humbleness.
That speaks to your point because people don't want to identify as that because people who do identify as that sometimes are a little bougie about it.
Snooty.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. So as environmentalists, we need to humble ourselves because not any one of us have the answer, right? So that's why it's very important that we recognize that once we humble ourselves and we start to work together, we have power in numbers. Not one of us is going to come and find the solution and boom, it's done. And then give us all a break, like get us all off the hook to do anything. No, we all have to change in little bits every single day, subtly in our lifestyle, in like moments that you don't even think about. That's the moment that needs to change. So we wanted to introduce something that was that small, that incremental, but in its smallness, that important and that relevant. So, this macro and micro relationship, right? You got to think globally, but act locally. And so the straw was, an amazing opportunity to tell that particular story. And it went viral because people were like, oh, well, I can do that, right? But if we can't do straws, how are we going to do that other 10 million tons? And a lot of people say to me, well, like the straw, what about the cup and the lid? And I always say, yeah, what about the cup and the lid? What are you going to do about it? I'm doing straws. So that was the whole impetus around the Lonely Whale Foundation was, how do we bring people together and build a bigger coalition instead of like a fringe number of extremists who have all the answers? Like, how do we get more people together to just do a little bit and just make it part of our lives so that it's fun and irreverent? And if you haven't seen our content, I recommend it because it is quite fun. People get smacked in the face with octopus tails and all sorts of things, and it is hashtag stop sucking. So, yeah.
That's pretty good. That's awesome. And also, so I have to say, I have been stalking you online a little bit recently, and I saw that you've been also starting some just camps and stuff for. Is camps? Is that the right word? What is it?
Yeah,
I've been
camp.
Boot camp. Yes, for kids too. Get them inspired.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, let's hear a little bit about that.
Okay, me, I've noticed that.
And then I just have one more question after that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
another program that we started was Ocean Heroes Boot Camp. I'm proud to say that I'm a UN Environment Goodwill Ambassador, and in partnership with the UN Environment Program and Lonely Whale, my organization. And so I have to back up for 1 second. Again, it's all about community, all about bringing people together, which is another, why I'm very happy to be here, because this is what it's all about. Yes. Round of applause. We have a mandate, a personal mandate of radical collaboration. All right, we don't believe. There are thousands, 25,000 plus ocean organizations. Yet, you look out in the ocean, and it's still in decline. There's still a bunch of. Something's not working, right? So we decided that we didn't want to be yet another organization competing. We wanted to be a collaborative organization. So we have a mandate to work with at least one other organization, but we strive to work with as many as possible. So with the UN and Captain Planet and Point Break and probably about 10 or 15 other organizations, we started the Ocean Heroes Boot Camp. And the idea was we're going to bring 500 kids from around the country together to learn how to be ocean heroes. So they go through a rigorous yet really fun 2 or 3 days of learning the realities of what's happening in the ocean, but then giving them the tools so that they can go out and start to advocate and proselytize and create campaigns in the modern media world, and go out and start to work within their communities to make change. And we're very excited about this program because, by the way, if the kids are going to do it, then we don't have to, because they will actually make a difference. So the Ocean Heroes Boot Camp is less than 6 months old, but we're now working on expanding that. So, in fact, I was talking to Sean about bringing Ocean Heroes Boot Camp here, and if you guys want to help, maybe you guys can have a chapter, an Ocean Heroes Boot Camp chapter here. Some of you guys have some kids, but I'm sure you can find some kids that are looking for something to do over a couple of days. And this is an amazing program because not only does it give them a sense of purpose and agency, but also it gets them excited about the world's oceans and bringing them out to swim in the oceans and be a part of that. Oh man, are you sure? Thank you. So yeah, I would love to share that with you guys someday.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Is this more straight stuff?
More straight.
We're trying to get you really comfortable here.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Maritimes.
Hey. So that's very inspiring, and thank you very much. So I have one last question.
Yes.
Adrian, when you are texting people, do you ever send gifts of yourself? I've been dying to know.
You should.
Do you? You totally could. There's gifts of you.
They exist?
They exist.
Yeah.
We've used some.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I was wondering where those came from. I'm going to be honest. I'm not quite my mother in my lack of understanding of technology, but I'm somewhere in between, and I don't know where to get gifts. Gifts. What are these gifts things you talk about? I don't know.
I'll show you some later.
I've actually tried to create gifts. How do you create gifts?
I don't know.
Who does it? Who sits around?
Nobody else.
Right, but they're all really bad, right? There's no readily available. I mean, you have boomerang apps. You can create a boomerang. I know how to do that. But I haven't been able to really. And I have a set actually on Google you can use a couple different pictures and create like a little stop motion. It's not a GIF. How do you create these?
We'll send you the link.
It's easy.
I'm gonna go crazy.
Okay.
So the answer is no, but after she sends me the generator, the answer will be yes.
Thank you. All right, I've been curious, so that's great. Okay, is there anything else pressing that you kind of wanted to share?
I could go on for hours, trust me.
I believe that you could.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Actually, you were talking about your organization pairing up with the UN, and recently the UN has added like oceans into their SDGs. Has that helped like the progression of your cause as like a global cause protecting the oceans and implementing the mandate? So has any change been made, or have you seen any kind of movement on that?
How many SDGs are there? There's like
I think there's like 17.
36, 17.
And oceanography is like an actual section within it. So.
Yeah, so yes, I think it's incredible that the UN has now shifted its focus from millennium goals to now sustainability goals. And they are laser sharp focused on several, like all 17, 18, 36 of them. I don't know how many there are, but there are many different issues facing our planet. So take your pick, right? Make your focus. And yeah, I think it has made a difference. The UN has put a focus on marine debris and looking to bring the world community to help create clean seas. So, yeah, I mean, look, when we work in collaboration, good things happen, right? And it's a big world, so we all have to work in tandem across the world, across different governments, across different, challenges, different global environmental challenges. So now that the UN and thusly the world and all of the world communities are focused squarely on marine debris, there has been a shift in focus. There's been many different countries that have, put really strong legislation against single-use plastics and the way they're used, and so absolutely, it's made a big difference. Yeah, I mean, big. I don't know. It's relative, right? But it's something. It's better. So certainly.
Yeah.
So I know you said like the whole stop stocking movement. You said like straws are your thing, and it's up to us to come up with the next thing to stop using.
Yeah.
But do you have plans to like not move on from straws, but continue with straws, but add things gradually? Like for example, plastic wrap. Like I stopped using plastic wrap because I don't even think about that. You just grab a container and stuff in a container, or like paper towel, like you said, coffee cups.
Yeah.
Are you gonna like expand your stop stocking movement to include more than that?
Yeah, so absolutely. On an individual level, you can go as far as you want, right? I don't use plastic wrap anymore. I carry around my coffee cup. I have my reusable water bottle. It's like 16 days worth of use in the United States. 16 days of 365. So, I mean, we're excited and proud, but kind of not. I mean, that's not enough. It's just a drop in the bucket. So, yes, we do have plans to expand and grow. We're just trying to do it strategically so that we can still tap into the same spirit, so that people still have the same sense of ease and irreverence, and whatever the straw campaign inspired, and also so that people can feel and see that they're actually making a change, because people will shut down real quick if they run up against their own apathy, and their own cynicism. So yeah.
I have a comment and maybe combine with a question. Were you at the talk that Dr. Angela Davis gave at Dalhousie 2 nights ago?
I was not.
So Angela Davis received an honorary doctorate degree from Dalhousie.
I want one.
And gave a talk. Stay here from the blogger.
I'm still trying to get my college to give me an honorary degree. The one that I dropped out of.
Stay long enough, okay, she won. So she gave a talk about belonging. And she talked about the abolition of prisons. She talked about feminism. She talked about the importance of men to rally together against violence, sexual violence, and violence. But she talked about how we can't have any of that without consciousness and betterment when it comes to environmental issues.
Amen.
And I don't think that we can have an environmental lens without having a conscious lens racially or towards any form of bigotry.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest pet peeve, and this is, I guess, where my question comes in, my biggest pet peeve is seeing this trend towards the gentrification of racialized communities, and then seeing all these people who are pro-green everything, but are bigots, and could be very ignorant when it comes to perhaps race relations or discrimination in any other form, but are like super pro save our.
Who gets to use the fist, right? Who gets to protest?
And I guess my question is, how do you entertain conversations around the fact that we need to have all of that? It's not one or the other.
Did everybody hear her?
Yes.
Yeah. I think maybe if I give you my perspective on your comment, maybe it'll answer. Everybody's looking for that holy grail, right? The unified theory. Like, how do we unify everybody together under one common, moral value of humanity, and care for the oceans and marine wildlife and animals and respect for one another and the planet and all of this? I mean, I believe, I'm an optimist, that we are getting there, or at least, even if we don't survive in this life cycle, even if we have to endure another extinction event, we'll get there eventually spiritually, right? I mean, if this is some sort of, drama that we have to play out to find ourselves, we'll get there. But I don't know what that lesson is. Like, how do we create that one unified idea that connects all of those things? And for me, and that's something actually that I've been looking to try and solve myself. And maybe it's, Steven Spielberg says, the minute I have an idea, it's not about if I should do it, it's about how fast. Because he recognized that when he has an idea, he's just pulling from the collective source, the collective consciousness. And that someone else has already had that idea, and now it's just a race to the finish. So the ideas I'm having are not new, because you're also having them, and I'm sure many people in here and then around the world. So I have this concept that I've been working on. I'll let you in on a little secret, because it's not done yet. It's called Sea Soil Citizen, and it's the intersectionality between the ocean and water and food justice and nourishment and what it means to be on the land and food security, and then also civic engagement, being a good citizen, participating in justice issues, or being a good neighbor, all these things. So like finding the sort of the Venn diagram of all these things. And I've been playing with this, and by the way, I'm sharing this with you, not so you could steal it, so that you can actually do the work for me and tell me the answer, so that you can fix it so that I don't have to. But Van Jones, who I'm a big fan of, he talks a lot about a disposable society. And we can't live our best selves if we live with this idea that things are disposable. Not plastics, not things and stuff, not people. We can't throw people away. We can't use women or other people for our own benefit and then throw them away as if they don't have any feelings or thoughts. So I think if we can find, I feel like that's approaching some sort of unified idea that we have to get out of this capitalist thing, right? Because we created money as a useful tool to have this common language in which we could all barter and share things across a global community, all participating with disparate types of value. But I think it's time to graduate from this money thing where we can buy things and then sell things. We just need to get to something else, and that's the paradigm shift that we're like anxious, very anxiously awaiting. How do we get beyond that so that we don't, have to continue to think we need to like acquire things and use people to achieve a sense of happiness when you reach it, it's not really that happy. This is way more happy than anything anybody could ever buy, right? So,
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
I wish we could go on all night, but I'm afraid that we've run out of time. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to us tonight. It was really great having you.
Thank you.